Welcome to the Ottawa Business Journal's live broadcast of how to achieve speed and sustainability in office interior construction. I'm Michael Curran from the Ottawa Business Journal. Thanks for joining us today. We're live on YouTube and live on LinkedIn, and we got another great topic for you. I'm so happy to have you. Today's broadcast is part of an ongoing project called Best Offices Ottawa. It started several years ago, and in addition to these regular podcasts, we produce an annual magazine. I'm excited to say that magazine launched earlier this fall at the beautiful offices of Burovision. We had a lovely party there. Lots of people from the interior design, architecture, real estate community joined us. If you haven't seen, by the way, a printed copy of the glossy magazine, please visit bestofficesottawa.ca for digital version. Best Offices is an important project, we feel, at OBJ. You might see on the surface great pictures of interiors and architectures. I think if you scratch below the surface, especially in today's post-pandemic world, what we're really talking about is employee engagement, productivity, and efficiency. So it kind of exists on a multi-layer point of view, if I could put it that way. And if you want to learn more about all of those great topics, you can go to OBJ's YouTube channel. There are more than a half dozen of these webinars that you can tune into. Okay, let's talk about today's topic. There is a revolution happening in the way office interiors are built. The great news is this revolution is being led by a Canadian company. Isn't that great? And the Canadian company is called Falkbuilt. The company is headquartered and has a state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Calgary, but it's represented right here in Ottawa by Burovision's construction branch, Falkbuilt Ottawa. So what is so special? Why are we calling this a revolution? One, they leverage cutting-edge technology to create highly customizable and sustainable office spaces. Here's the key part, that are faster and more efficient from a construction point of view than ever before. And they have unique construction processes, digital tools, we're going to see some of those, and on-site construction assembly. So a lot of what we're talking here, by the way, we're going to visualize in some really cool videos. So please stay tuned for that. So you're going to learn a few key things here in today's live broadcast. One, how Falkbuilt is achieving speed, sustainability, and cost savings. Two, what are the benefits of a turnkey build out to simplify the design and construction project? And also how Falkbuilt is transforming industries such as commercial, education, healthcare spaces. So we're going to focus on offices, but actually there's a wider applicability to this. And finally, we're going to take a look at real world cases right here in Ottawa where Falkbuilt was used. All right, it's time to introduce our main guest. She's back by popular demand. She's appeared in, as I indicated, like a half dozen of these. She is the president of Burovision, and she throws great parties. So if you get an invite to her parties, come on up. Here's Gillian Oxley-Harper. Hey, Gillian.
Hi, hey, how are you? It's nice to be back.
It's nice to be back. And I'm not joking about the parties you threw. You had an incredible party earlier in 2024 to open up I call it an office. It's really a showroom, right?
Yeah, it's a working showroom. Yeah, our staff are here working.
And that blew people's minds, by the way. And then we had a magazine launch. So thank you, Gillian, for providing your space. And
we're delighted to do that. We're very proud of it, and we really welcome people and want people to come in and use the space and enjoy the space and gain inspiration from it. So thank you for your kind words about it.
I think that's a key component. Like when you're we talk a lot about best offices. We've had lots of podcasts about this, but if you go into your space, you actually, like, you can feel it, see it, right? Experience it.
And, think about how you could incorporate some of the planning that we use here in your own space at the level that you need to utilize it.
You got it. And, one thing that your office exemplifies is this new construction technology and technique called Falkbuilt. And we're literally calling it a revolution in office interior construction. You used it in your Burovision office. Tell us why you think this is important to talk about.
We did. I'm sitting in my very own Falk pod, which is a private office built with Falkbuilt within our space. And, Falkbuilt is becoming more and more relevant and important. There's a lot of reasons. It's the ability for a customer to customize their space without that custom price tag. It has an outstanding and one of the best sustainability stories that I've ever heard in terms of its impact, or in this case, no impact on the environment. The expediency that it adds to a project is really a tangible cost savings for the customer. They're getting out of an old lease into a new lease, or they're doing tenant improvements. We literally can shave weeks off a schedule. So there's a lot of things that make it interesting, a lot of things that make it a hot topic. It really takes conventional construction and just completes it off site and then brings it in and puts it together in the customer space. But I know enough about Falkbuilt to be very dangerous, and that's why we have a subject matter expert as our guest today. And he's going to walk through the why, the what's, the hows. But at the end, when we do have some examples of sites here in Ottawa, I can chime in a little bit, because they really did exceed the customer's expectations and create beautiful spaces. And, you and I have talked about this. I'm sure people are going ad infinitum, but spaces that people are drawn to, they have to be spaces that matter, and they have to support people. And Falkbuilt is a huge component of that process.
So cool. And that's a perfect segue. We're now going to introduce the expert on today's broadcast. He is from Falkbuilt. Please welcome Martin Samson. Hello, Martin.
Hi, Michael. Hi, Gillian.
Hey, Martin.
How are you doing, Martin?
Doing very well. Thank you very much for the invite. I love this opportunity to kind of explain what the fuss is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, Gillian, we're going to send you backstage, and you're going to come see us again after Martin runs through some of our key topics here. So we'll see you in a bit, Gillian. And Martin, I'm going to give people a little bit of a preview of our agenda here today. So in topic number 1, we're going to talk about what is Falkbuilt. This is very logical, by the way. What is Falkbuilt? Then we're going to talk about why Falkbuilt, and then we're going to talk about how Falkbuilt, how it works. And then after we look at our live projects, or our real world projects, Martin, we're going to do some questions from the live audience. I'll be happy to moderate those. And by the way, everyone's going to see some really cool videos. So Martin, without further ado, let's jump into our first topic. So please tell us, Martin, what is Falkbuilt?
Right. What is Falkbuilt? Thank you, Michael. Well, essentially, as Gillian mentioned, Falkbuilt is a great Canadian success story. I'm very proud to have had the privilege of joining the team going on 5 years now. Falkbuilt is essentially headquartered in Calgary, Alberta. We are a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility, but what the goal is that we provide customized interiors that are tailored solutions to meet our customers' specific needs, all of their criteria, their requirements. So the idea behind this is essentially taking as many components that will make up this custom space that meets the customer's requirements and identifying those that lend themselves well to off-site manufacturing. So what can we manufacture with an optimization off-site to then include it into their build-out that happens on-site?
That's really cool. And we're seeing some pictures for those of you joining us live on screen here. And this is kind of a representation of what can be achieved with Falkbuilt. I know we're going to talk about why Falkbuilt in a second, but give us a sense of what we're seeing here, Martin, for a second.
Right. So this is a great example of a 3D fly-through, which is one of the services we offer. All part of that concept of trying to clarify things, make the decision process faster, and shorten that whole pre-construction period by able to offer clarity and cost certainty. And what we're seeing here is a great example of everything that Falkbuilt can do. And I typically try to summarize it saying anything that's between the floor and the ceiling, meaning that we're talking about partitions, obviously, to segment off the space, and then everything to do with glass fronts and doors, millwork, electrical, what have you. So essentially every component that constitute how you're dividing up space and the functionality of each room in itself.
Okay. And just to be clear, some people watching might go, well, that's like a fancy marketing 3D thing. You actually do those videos for all the major projects. Is that right, Martin?
Correct. We don't necessarily need to do them for every project. Some of them
Yeah.
are very small and don't require this level of detail.
Of course.
But because we have to manufacture the components, we literally have to create a 3D model of every bit and piece. And because of that, it's tied into our visualization tool. So it allows us to do these fully integrated fly-throughs. And as we progress now in this new era, we're finding that more and more people prefer walking through the space virtually, room by room, and actually seeing it, than relying on a more traditional approach where you're looking at shop drawings. It's a 2D view where you're interpreting drawings and you're hoping the customer understands what they're expecting to get. Here, we're all watching the same movie. We know exactly what the result is going to be because what you see is literally what's going to be manufactured and then installed on site.
Yeah, I like that. What you see is what you're going to get. And we're going to dig a little bit deeper and we're going to talk about why Falkbuilt. And we've got a different video coming up to explain that. But there's lots of reasons. So the what, by the way, I just want to acknowledge it's so cool that a Canadian company is doing this.
I
You
agree.
know, we're all, a lot of our audience are entrepreneurs. We all aspire to be great companies. Oh my goodness. What a Canadian success story. So congratulations. But let's talk about the why a little bit now.
All right. So I guess the main point with offsite manufacturing, it's been around for decades in many different spheres of construction. People are very familiar with, pre-manufactured concrete components, HVAC components. You even have now fully assembled modules that are being manufactured somewhere and dropped into a hospital, like bathrooms or operating rooms. So the prefabrication concept goes way back. But the one part that has always kind of withstood that trend is the actual fit up of the interior walls. So the walls, the millwork, all of that portion pretty much still gets built by hand by women and men that get raw materials on site and then do their best to transform those materials into the vision that was laid down by the design team. So the whole concept here is we're having issues with labor. Everybody's aware, that the latest numbers I got from the ACQ here in Quebec, we're looking at a 300,000 worker shortage by 2028. And it's not getting any better because every 5 people that retire from the construction industry, you're lucky if you're getting 1 that's coming into the trade schools. Yeah. So the problem is only going to accentuate. And because of that, trying to get in your space on time, we're seeing that the timelines for these projects are getting faster and faster. Fast track now is not even a word because everything seems to be fast track. So if you have less labor available and you're trying to move into your space faster, the only solution, if you will, the only thing I can see that can help all of this is taking as many of those components off of the site and manufacturing them highly efficiently, like we do for everything else in our daily lives, right? What else do you buy as a raw material and then transform yourself anymore?
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. And what we're seeing on screen again for a live audience is a video that demonstrates, that traditional office fit up with drywall. And we're seeing kind of a time lapse between the old-fashioned drywall approach and the new kind of on-site assembly using Falkbuilt, right? Right, Martin?
That's right, exactly. And one of the things that we've taken great care in doing right from the onset, every decision that has been driving our design development and our engineering in-house was always for the 5 main founding principles, if you will, of Falkbuilt, which is the speed of construction. So not only how fast we're able to manufacture the components, but how fast do they come together on site? And beyond that, how fast can the other trades do their work on site because of the open architecture of our platform? So the idea is to try to avoid all of these sequential steps that typically have to happen. Like you said, framing, then boarding, then, drywall, you have to do your taping, your sanding, your painting, and then maybe several iterations of that. So messiness, obviously, the time required, the insulation as you're seeing here on screen. So it's a very linear process and you can't jump ahead. You can't skip a step, right? So you pretty much have to wait for all of this to happen, after which you're now running your electrical and adding whatever finish you may need to a wall. And right. So these are all things that now you're able to design upfront, choose what the wall will look like, what the dimensions are going to be, what your acoustic performance needs to be. Everything is decided up front and then simply manufactured precisely to those specs.
And it all kind of, as you indicated, arrives on site. It's clean. Everything's there. Nothing's missing. And That's then right. Everything goes kind of smoothly and quickly. Exactly. And by the way, we're going to see we're going to go to the how it works in a second, but this is beautiful top end design here, right? Too, Martin. This isn't. We're going to see some real life projects that will bring this to life. But you're achieving, what we're calling here a best office with this technology.
Absolutely. That's a great point, because another one of those principles I was mentioning was that beyond being fast and having cost certainty, which is automatically tied into the manufacturing process, what we wanted to really focus on was design freedom. In other words, we're not asking the designers, the clients, to look at a catalog and pick one of our models that most closely resembles their design intent. You design the space that you have in mind that will suit your requirements, and that's what we will manufacture for you. So it is custom construction, the same way traditional construction would be, where you're designing it, we're taking those components, manufacturing them, and it allows you to have that design freedom, and as you said, to come up with some very high-end solutions and absolutely customized.
Cool. We're going to go to topic number 3 in a second, but just before we do, I want to remind all of our live viewers that we're going to have a Q&A session. So whether you're on YouTube or LinkedIn, you can ask questions on those platforms. My colleague Susan is moderating right now. So let's get the chat going here. And sometime around 12:30, we're going to be going to your chat. So this is a unique opportunity to ask either Martin or Gillian questions about how to achieve this type of design and construction efficiency and environmental standards. But Martin, let's go to topic number 3, which is, again, we're kind of going a deeper every time we move to a different topic. We're going to talk about how all of this is achieved, and we have a spectacular video to show on screen here.
Right. So this is really, as they say, where the magic happens, right? So how is it possible that we can take an absolutely customized design, right, where you're not picking from a catalog, and we're able to import that into the software that allows us to manufacture each component, and then turn this around in a matter of weeks to have it on site being installed in 4 weeks or better? So the answer to that is quite simple. It's by leveraging technology, right? So the overarching software that Falkbuilt uses essentially is like a cloud-based plugin to standard design software that everybody in industry already uses. But what that allows us to do is get extreme precision on the dimensions, the spacing, the placement of everything within your project, not just as it relates to Falkbuilt, but every other component as well. So this all ties back into the infamous BIM modelization, which everybody's been promoting, but nobody seems to actually leverage to its fullest at the moment. What we're saying is, let us import all of the project here in this overarching software, which allows us to control everything from start to finish. And this is really not just a manufacturing tool, but it actually plays into the design aspect, right? So we're trying to shorten that design and especially the decision-making period by able to offer more clarity up front. Then it leads into manufacturing. So if you can imagine, one of the reasons why there is so much speed by adopting this method, you're essentially having 2 simultaneous job sites. Yes, you have the base building, the physical job site where stuff is occurring. This is where the general contractor and the other subtrades are getting the shell ready. They're getting that space ready to accept the components that are being manufactured at your other site. So now you have another job site, which is our manufacturing facility, that is rapidly fabricating every custom component to spec, so that at the end, when these 2 marry together and all of your solution arrives on site, it's simply clicking into place into the space that's been prepared by the GC for us.
Two quick comments. One, I've been involved in some office fit-ups over the years, and when I'm watching everything come together like that, I'm remembering our office fit-ups as just being dirty and dusty, and like it's just like it's a bit of a disaster, right?
Sure.
It's a full construction zone, is what it is. And what I wanted to ask you about, Martin, we haven't talked a lot about this yet, is the environmental aspects of this. Because if I think back to those office fit-ups back then, guess what? There was construction waste everywhere, right? So the extra piece of this, the extra piece of that. So Falkbuilt, I presume, Martin, is avoiding a lot of that?
Absolutely. That's one of the key things with this type of construction, and Falkbuilt has really made a point of focusing on the sustainability aspect. And I always like to break the sustainability question into 3 parts. Yes, it's very sustainable because we're manufacturing everything to precise dimensions. So obviously when we get to site, there are no cutoffs, there is no waste. So on any given traditional project, you can imagine you're looking at anywhere from 25 to 30% of those brand new materials, which we just purchased, that are being cut down to size and fit into space, and the balance of which is being thrown out, right? So from an investment standpoint, at least a quarter of the money you just spent on materials is going to waste upfront because you're essentially tailoring everything by hand to make it fit into your space. Then the actual waste overall in the construction project is typically reduced by anywhere from 80 to 90%. So you can imagine that right now, unfortunately, in America, we're running at around 100 million tons of construction waste a year, right? Because we're constantly renewing leases, we're constantly retrofitting spaces and bringing them up to snuff. So we're always tearing everything out and throwing it in the dumpster. So what this type of construction also allows you to do is future-proof your space by giving you that flexibility, not necessarily because you're going to be changing your layout constantly, right? Not all of our customers are constantly moving walls around, but what it does allow you to do is adapt the fit, function, and aesthetics of your space without having to undergo renovations, which call for tearing out drywall and creating dust and disruption. So now your space is able to, retain that relevancy to be absolutely adapted to the way your teams are working, the way people need to use the space, without having to wait till the end of your lease to finally invest another sum of money to turn your space into what it needs to look like at that point, right? So it's giving you that flexibility, which is sustainable in itself, because the whole point is to keep on using the solution which you invested in to adapt it and make it relevant.
One of the things that's occurring to me here, Martin, is a lot of people know that in this post-pandemic world, they need to have a best office. And they're uncertain, though. So they want to achieve that kind of high design experience, collaboration space, but they're uncertain what the future holds. So I really like your point on flexibility, which is, this isn't completely like Lego. You can't just like move walls around, but it is more likely or more possible, Martin, to reconfigure. Just to emphasize that point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. And as you say, I mean, we are still tied into the base building. There is electrical. So there are things that you can't essentially just come in overnight and move everything to a different spot. So planning is still involved. And what this allows you to do, though, is because every single component that we've produced initially to compose your space lives in this 3D model, we are able to take your new design intent, your new layout, tell us what you need the space to do, and then our software automatically will calculate every bit and piece that you currently have that'll allow you to do so, and what you're missing. So what we need to order to transform it into the new fit, finish, or function that you need. But as you said, all of this without creating any dust, tearing out drywall, or throwing anything out. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, really. I mean, in that old-fashioned construction techniques, like, if you wanted to change your office, I mean, you were shutting it down for weeks and weeks on end, and think about the lost productivity, and again, construction waste, environmental. Yeah. Wow.
Many of our customers, if I can add this point, the technology aspect is key. I don't mean necessarily just like embedded cameras and things of that nature, but you mentioned at the very beginning, we are doing a lot of offices. Obviously, it's our core business. However, some of the other markets that we are really gaining traction in are healthcare markets, even in the industrial market. So there are a lot of customers out there who know for a fact that the technology and the equipment they use is evolving every year, every 2 years at the most, which means that now they have to have some sort of built-in flexibility that will allow them to retrofit their existing space with these advances in technology and in equipment, and hopefully do so for pennies on the dollar, right? Because you now have an infrastructure that's created right from the get-go to be flexible and to allow you to make these changes.
It's a great point. And we should think about this more broadly, the application than simply offices. All right. So Martin, great job. We talked about what, why, and how. We're leading up, by the way, to our Q&A session. So once again, just a note to everyone, we'll be going to your questions in a minute. But before we do that, we're going to bring Gillian back on screen. Hello again, Gillian.
Hello.
There might be people that are watching these videos, spectacular, by the way, and saying, "Oh yeah, that's not the real world, though." Like you guys are showing us some AI generated. No, that's not it. So, Gillian, in fact, what we're going to do here is we're going to bring up some images of real projects in Ottawa that used Falkbuilt. And you're going to set this up a little bit, Gillian, because guess what? The Burovision office was built using Falkbuilt. So let's see those images.
It was certainly built. It was built using Falkbuilt because, we obviously want to show the product, but legitimately, I can attest that we were able to move into our space 6 to 8 weeks earlier than had we done a conventional process throughout. I kind of wanted to highlight these 3 pictures in the space, and it's funny because Martin will also attest to this, that Falkbuilt prides itself on its ability to customize and realize exactly what the client wants or the designer wants, and quote unquote, Burovision put them through their paces for this space. So everything was delivered on time as designed as required. The shot on the bottom is actually, I'm in there right now. This is a Falk pod. They use the term Falk pods, Falk skin. They play on the word Falk, but that's a freestanding seismically braced office, double pane glass. Acoustics are amazing. We have an articulating door called the Taz door, which is a folding door in one of our studies, but the millwork is stunning. It is absolutely stunning. And that millwork was actually, and our kitchen was featured on the covers of Ottawa's best offices. But it really became an interesting project because we had a quite lovely showroom here in downtown Ottawa prior to the expansion, and we literally gutted it. And it was 10,000 square feet of base building. So we used conventional construction, but Falkbuilt played an immense role in creating private spaces, communal spaces, boardrooms, light box walls, you name it. What did I miss, Martin?
Well, integration of all sorts of third-party solutions, I think, is very, it's valued in this space, because that's one of the nice things with Falkbuilt is we play well with others, right? So when you are looking to integrate specialty finishes or lighting or anything of that nature that is not even by Falkbuilt, we absolutely work with the other companies and integrate all that. So the showroom is a great example of that.
Yeah, I encourage people to go check it out, right, Gillian? I'm sure you'd be happy to give them a tour. Let's take a look at some of the other projects, by the way. Here's Canada's largest construction company. Guess what they're using? The Falkbuilt. Yeah. Take it away, Martin.
Yeah, this is a testimony in itself. So the beauty with this project is that the PCL team obviously knew of us prior to their own project through other jobs that we bid on with them. But when it came time to redo their own headquarters here in Ottawa, obviously they were looking for speed, but also more importantly, acoustics and basically having a guarantee that we were going to deliver on our promises. The timeline was critical on this project. And this is another one of these beautiful projects where we worked in tandem, our 2 arms, the construction arm and then the Burovision furniture arm. So this is another turnkey project, if you will, where the customer chose to work with us as a turnkey provider.
That's cool. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Wow, Smart & Bigger, the IP law firm headquartered right here in Ottawa. Martin, walk us through this one.
Similar deal, Smart & Bigger, very tight timeline again, right? They needed to move into their space for a certain drop dead date. Very, very heavy on glass, the aesthetics in this space. Many of these open area, all glass cubicles. So you can imagine how acoustics were critical, right? So the design aspect was key, but it was also the integration of some of these other solutions like you're seeing in the pictures here. And once again, happy customer. The space looks exactly the way they planned it, but more importantly, they got in there on the date they needed to be. So it was a very tight and fast track project. And luckily, our manufacturing facilities were able to deliver on time, but also our installation process, which is considerably shorter, made it all happen.
Cool. And the next one, cybersecurity hub. That's cool.
Yes, this one was. It's quite a special project. So for those of you who may not know, Ottawa U recently set up this new cybersecurity program. Essentially, we're going to be now teaching students how to fend off cyber attacks, right? That's where we're at this point in time. So they needed to have a partner, and it took a while for this partner to sign on. And once they did, the project got a green light. The reason why they needed to use Falkbuilt, they chose us specifically for this project because of the integration of technology. So the shot you're seeing in the middle here is a little bit what they call the war room, sort of like at NASA where you see that in the movies. So this large box you're seeing on the wall is actually a custom fabricated 27 TV array creating this gigantic screen. And off to the side, we can't see it in this image, but they have these viewing rooms with mirror glass like in a police station and two-way switch glass so that customers can come here and actually simulate a cyber attack where everything goes dark and the folks in here are fending off that cyber attack. So it's a lab more than anything else. And you can see from that other picture on the top right here how we integrated those third-party solutions. So these are actually backlit resin panels from a third-party company, some custom millwork in there as well. And even though it took a very long time for the project to finally get off the ground, once it did, well, then we were already late, right? So we had to make this happen in a very short period of time. And one of the nice things about this project is that it's entirely built out of Falkbuilt. So all of the solid walls going all the way up to the deck, double pane glass everywhere because acoustics were critical for all these simulations. So the university's team is very happy with it. And one of the things that, pushed this over the edge for them and really got them to want to use Falkbuilt as opposed to traditional was for day 2, right? So now the operational costs, the fact that they're able to swap out cladding panels, that they can adapt the space as they need, and the durability aspect of it, right? Having that 10-year warranty initially is something that's unheard of in the construction industry. However, the fact that if you should ever manage to damage a panel or do anything to the space that requires repairs, you're now able to scan a QR code, order components, and the facilities team love that aspect where they've already gotten us to come back in here and swap out some finishes because they didn't like their initial choices. So that flexibility for them was key.
That's cool. And we've written about this cybersecurity space extensively. I never knew Falkbuilt was involved, so I'm learning that for the first time here too. Let's do our producer. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, interesting.
Right, ISSB, the International Sustainability Standards Board. Wow. So I did not even know of these folks until they came to us initially for a couple of glass fronts and doors. And then what happened is we met with their executive team. They came to the Montreal showroom because the person from London was traveling here. So they're based out of the UK. What they do essentially is that they regulate the sustainability claims of companies out there. And they're verifying essentially that if people are claiming that they're sustainable for whatever reason, that they actually are. So they learned about Falkbuilt through one of our infamous Falkbuilt factory tours, which we do online, which shows off our factory and our processes and everything else. And initially, although we were doing just a few office fronts, the very first thing they said after the meeting was, well, let's walk the talk. We are a sustainability board. We should be including as much Falkbuilt as we can in our own project to show off, essentially put our money where our mouth is. So from there, it turned into these private phone booths, as you can see here on the left, these pods. These are just mini pods made to the size of a phone booth. Integration of technology, as you can see with the screen here in the middle, and then as well all these other cool features like these waterfall details on the glass and double pane glass. So it was, for such a small project, it has a lot of very customized elements and very high-end finishes and technology integration. So I think it was a great story.
Yeah, awesome. I think we got one more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Deloitte.
Interesting and challenging.
Okay.
I didn't even know this at the time, but Deloitte has a smart warehousing technology branch where they invite customers to this space and show off all the best and high-tech approaches to manufacturing. So whether it's for storage facilities, think Amazon warehouse, what have you. So these customers fly in from all over the world and come to this space, which they created in Montreal near the airport. So it's a showroom for them, but it's a showroom where they're showing off in the very back all of the manufacturing technology, software, and equipment. So the front office is where they needed Falkbuilt to shine. And as you can see here, the ceilings are over 20 feet high. It's a warehouse, like an industrial space. So all of these freestanding structures had to be created that would meet the code, meet seismic code, also give them acoustics. So you can see in the center image here and the one on the right, we integrated our valence structure to be able to drop in ceilings on these rooms without actually having to build anything above and go up to the upper deck. So now all of these freestanding rooms have an integrated ceiling for acoustics, and it allowed us to get in there and, in a matter of weeks, turn the space around for them with custom finishes and integrated technology. That TV on the left-hand side is a bit hard to tell from the size of the folks sitting next to it, but that was a 98-inch TV, which took a little bit of engineering to figure out how to do and how to integrate that within one of our panels. But we're always up to the challenge.
Super. And, these photos really bring things to life. So I'm so glad we took some time. Listen, we're going to move right to our Q&A. We've got a bunch of questions, and I think we'll handle 3 of them. I'll bring this one up on screen first, and we can see if Gillian or you, Martin, want to take this one. Are you able to design support into walls for mounting displays, cabinets, anything that might require additional support? So are you able to design support into walls for mounting displays, so on and so forth?
Thanks, a great question. Absolutely. That's a great question. We didn't really get to see the inner structure of our walls in any of our images, but the way that Falkbuilt designed this space, we were inspired by what's been happening in the industry for industrial racking for decades. So our super stud assembly, which we've coined internally, essentially gives us hyper strength for the wall. So as opposed to having typical 16-inch placement of studs inside a wall for conventional drywall, our studs are so beefy, if I can use that term, right, structurally sound, that we typically only need one every 48 inches. And the blocking, what the customer's question is referring to, is integrated in the design, meaning that you typically don't need to add blocking or support for any millwork or television installation or anything of that nature. Should you need to hang something off the wall that is way more, either heavy or cantilevered, so you're thinking like dentist office with equipment that has to telescope out over the patient.
Yes.
It's an easy retrofit for us because the cladding can simply be removed, and we can hang another one of our horizontals that ties into the steel studs and then transfers the weight. So being able to hang 600-700 pounds off either side of the wall is not an issue. And should we need to get beyond that, then all we need to do is add additional steel reinforcement to transfer the load. So it's a very simple fix. Yeah.
That is really something. Madison has a question. I don't know if you can answer this because it might be kind of your own technology, but Madison's saying, what software do you use to perform a job specifically creating the fly-throughs? Is that your own? Is that another piece of?
No, it's not. It's actually that's one of the things I really like about Falkbuilt is that we did not reinvent the wheel here. We use industry standard software. So we use Revit for all of the design aspects of the components which we'll manufacture. So most of the design community out there is still using AutoCAD or is on Revit, which is compatible together. And what we use for the visualization aspect is it's tied into Enscape. So as soon as we create the 3D model in Revit, which we need to do to be able to manufacture the components, we instantly can transfer that into the Enscape visualization tool. And what you saw for the fly-throughs at the beginning were quite elaborate because it allows us to bring in all the other elements of the project. So beyond Falkbuilt, if we know what floor you're using, what ceiling type, give us your lighting, give us all of your furniture components, all the info that you provide us with, we can pull that into that 3D model and really turn it into an actual fly-through that encompasses everything.
Okay. We got 2 more quick ones, and this one's from another Best Offices partner, Samantha Dugal, who was at our launch working with IAV, and she's saying, do you work with any audio-visual integrators and designers? Is that part of what you're considering through the whole project design, Martin?
We typically will work with whomever is chosen by the design team, right? So we do have to collaborate with them, obviously, because first and foremost, not everybody understands Falkbuilt. Not everybody's had a chance to work with it yet. So they need to know what the inside of our walls looks like and how they're going to be integrating their components. But we offer that service, yes, to the AV folks, obviously to the electricians, the plumbers. So all of the sub-trades whose work has to touch Falkbuilt in any way, whether it's inside the wall or something that's going on to one of our solutions. That's one of the reasons why our factory direct model operates through a branch network. So every market has a direct branch comprised of designers and project managers and technicians, so that we're able to collaborate with the design team as well as all of the other sub-trades to really make sure that they're getting the most efficiency out of the system.
Very cool. And wow, we'll take one more question. We're running into overtime here.
Yeah.
A well-known person from, I'll call it our best offices community, Lynn Farron, and she is saying, just a note, what you don't see here is if you need acoustic privacy higher than, I don't even know what this is, but STC 45, drywall baffles are needed above. This happens a lot in government projects. Plus, yes, seismic bracing.
Right.
Tell me what all that means, Martin.
Okay, so in a nutshell, before Falkbuilt, all manufacturers creating demountable partitions, right? It was the term that was being tossed around for the last few decades. These were essentially furniture solutions created to divide space and made to go between the ceiling and the floor, right? So the acoustics themselves of that wall can be beefed up by adding insulation and what have you. We decided to go about it differently and actually follow the best practices of traditional construction, where we can install walls that stop at the ceiling, but we can also go deck to deck, or we can do a hybrid solution where we're bringing our studs into the plenum to create a structure to hold the acoustic solution to create that separation in the plenum. And to answer Lynn's question, right out of the box, our walls already have beyond that. We designed it initially to exceed a standard drywall partition. So without any insulation or anything else, we're already at a 48 STC, but then we're in the mid 50s as soon as we start adding anything to the wall. And as you can imagine, one of our biggest markets is healthcare. So when we're doing head walls between patient rooms and what have you, we have solutions that can bring us well into the 60 STC range, right? Okay. So yeah, it gives a lot more flexibility where if you want to use drywall as a baffle in the plenum, you can, because our walls are designed to either accept our own cladding or to have anything else put on them, right? So if it's drywall or ceramic tile or what have you.
Okay, we'll start wrapping up, but I'll just show this because it's kind of funny. Lynn's coming to go see your showroom there, Gillian.
There you go.
She was at the opening, but I don't think we did much touring that night.
Okay,
and, let me know. Let me know. I'll join you guys.
With the STC, Michael, just for you, they're talking about noise reduction.
Yes,
so
yes.
Acoustic privacy. So
yeah,
there's different ratings, and basic drywall is good, basic single panes of glass are not. So Falkbuilt offers a number of solutions for that. Cool. And I think we presented to Lynn's team on Falkbuilt as well. Nice. So that was nice of her to comment. So thank you. And we'll see you soon, Lynn.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, we'll start wrapping up. We've got a slide with your contact information, so we'll bring that on board. But I think if someone's really truly interested, Lynn certainly is. What I'd suggest to you is go see the Burovision showroom. It's in this beautiful location. It overlooks Spark Street, so it's right downtown. Thank you for making that investment, by the way, Gillian, in our downtown. This is something that lots of companies need to be considering. But here's how to contact both Martin and Gillian. You got a QR code, some emails, and phone numbers as well. Any final thoughts, Gillian, as we're wrapping up?
I hope this was informative for people. It can be a little scary and complex, but basically it's just improving on existing methods of construction and adding those very important features of sustainability, cost effectiveness, expedience, cost certainty, and all of that. And every time, Martin is a true subject matter expert on it. Our creative director here in our Ottawa office is as well. He's really embraced this product, and a lot of those projects were initiated with his work. So it really is something. When you're looking at a project, you're looking at moving, creating something. You want to make something worth the commute. Looking at these turnkey, and I use that just meaning that once Falkbuilt's finished and Burovision's finished, here's your key, open the door, you can come in. It really is something to consider. It's a great investment for space that gives you, I think, a place that matters. And I know I say that a lot. I'm sorry if I'm making people roll their eyes, but it also gives you flexibility and a great story and a place where people want to be. So that's excellent. Really, and Martin, just amazing. Again, could listen to you all day on this. And I should have been taking notes, but I didn't. So I rely very heavily on Martin and our Ottawa-based CD to bail me out when Falkbuilt comes along. But it's been a wonderful, wonderful addition to the Burovision group of companies. And you can see from those projects that the customers in Ottawa are embracing this technology.
Super cool. Listen, Martin, thank you for joining us today. I know you brought lots of expertise, but the key point for us is you kept it accessible, Martin. So
Right.
I could sense that you had lots of layers of depth there, but we'll keep it surface level. You made the point. You're very eloquent, and your expertise shines through. So thank you, Martin. Thank you, Gillian,
Thank you very
for
much.
continuing to support Best Offices. Again, go see Gillian. She'd be happy to show you the Falkbuilt right here in Ottawa. So we'll bid both of you adieu, and I'll wrap up here. Thank you, everyone in our audience, for joining us for this. We get some positive comments still flowing in the YouTube and LinkedIn comments. So thank you for everyone. I want to remind you that you can visit obj.ca website every day for the latest in local business news. I highly recommend you sign up for our OBJ Today. That's our weekday email newsletter. It comes out at the end of the day. You might be thinking, what the heck do I need another email for? This one kind of summarizes all the business news you need to know. So I recommend it. If you're on YouTube right now, I recommend that you like us, follow us, and click the little red subscriber button, and then you'll get a notification when we're live with all of these videos. That's all the time we have for today. On behalf of Burovision and Falkbuilt, I'm Michael Curran, signing off from OBJ. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.